Okay, well, welcome everybody to a conversation with our new Cerritos College Board of Trustee member, Dawn Green. Thank you so much, Trustee Green, for joining us tonight, and thanks to everybody who's joined us for this great event. I'm Will Mittendorf. I'm a philosophy professor here at Cerritos College, and I'm a co-chair of Falcons Rising, along with Dr. Natalie Sarton, who's here as well. Falcons Rising is inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. We are a campus movement toward racial justice and equity. We're a faculty committee that aims to bring meaningful and sustainable reforms addressing Cerritos College student experiences with racial inequality and racial inequity. Our goals are to provide the campus and community with critical information on issues related to institutional racism and equity, to foster discussions that address systematic racism, and to draw from the ideas that stem from our forums in an effort to create real and equitable change on campus and in the community. Setup for tonight is we have several interviewers who are going to ask Trustee Green different questions. So we've got two faculty members, myself and Dr. Sarton. We've got a couple of students here and a member of the staff as well. So right now, I'm going to invite Samuel to maybe introduce himself, and we'll just go through each of the interviewers and each person can introduce themselves. And then Dr. Sarton, after introducing herself, will read a bio about Trustee Green, and then we'll get into some of the questions.
Yeah. My name is Samuel Chaco. I'm the editor-in-chief for Talonmarks, and my partner in crime, I guess, his name is George Diaz. He's an ASCC senator. He'll be coming in here a couple seconds. I'm just gonna send him a Zoom link, but that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Okay, in this case, I'll go next since we're waiting for Jorge. Hello, everyone. And thank you for attending this evening. My name is Natalie Sarton. I am an associate professor in the Department of English. I also chair the Black Africana Studies department here at Cerritos College. And I also serve as secretary on Faculty Senate. So again, thank you for coming. And before I read the introduction or the introductory bio for Trustee Dawn Green, I'd like to introduce VP Wei Zhao. He's the VP of Academic Affairs here at Cerritos College. And we're happy that he is here and you're able to join us this evening. And I just wanted to give you a few minutes in case you wanted to say anything. Sorry to, I know this is somewhat unprepared, but yes.
Oh, no problem. Yes. Thank you, Natalie, for introducing me. And I really appreciate this opportunity to join actually this panel here. I know we have great interviewers and we have a great interviewee today, Trustee Dawn Green. Thank you, Trustee, for actually providing us and answering questions, I know, from our great interviewers today. And we are really excited for you to join our board, talking about the branding, your dedication, commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and also looking at how do we better really bring the equity mindedness to our college, and how do we really looking at focusing on not only improving student success overall, at the same time closing equity gaps. So Trustee Dawn Green, we are really truly honored to have you on our board and representing our community and serving our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to turn this over to Deanna Quesada so that she can introduce herself, and then we'll introduce Jorge Diaz.
Everyone, good evening, and thank you for attending. Trustee Green, I want to just say congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome to Cerritos College. We're excited to have you, and thank you, everyone that is here today. My name is Deanna Quesada, and I work in the foster and kinship care education program, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, and in terms of our last but not least presenter, Jorge, would you like to offer an introduction?
Hi, I'm Jorge Diaz. I'm so sorry. I was looking for the link. Thank you, Samuel, for sending it to me. Lifesaver. really. I'm Jorge Diaz. I'm in ACC, I'm a senator, and I'm also president of the Chinese Club. And yeah, I really wanted to hop on the interview because I really want to voice the students. I talked to some of the students who are too shy, and yeah, I'm grateful for the places that I am. And it was nice meeting you, Don Green, at the event earlier. Nice running into you in person. And yeah, and oh yeah, welcome, Don Green.
Thank
actually.
you. Thank you. It was great meeting you too.
Excellent. Thank you. And so here is, I'll read Trustee Green's bio. So as the newest member of the Cerritos College Board of Trustees, Trustee Don Green represents the constituents in Trustee Area 2, excuse me, Southwest Downey. Trustee Green is a Southgate resident with more than 20 years of experience in education, serving as an elementary school teacher, instructional improvement lead, assistant principal, and transformation specialist. She currently serves as a principal at Rosa Parks Elementary School in Linwood. Trustee Green holds a bachelor's degree in liberal studies from San Diego State University, a master of education from CSU Dominguez Hills, and is currently in the dissertation process for a doctoral degree in educational leadership at USC. Trustee Green is the first African-American woman to serve on the Cerritos College Board of Trustees. She was sworn in November and will serve until 2024. Excellent. So at this time, I'm going to turn the stage over to Will Mittendorf. He has the first question.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Trustee Green, for joining us today. And like Deanna said, congratulations on your new position. And yeah, it's great to have this opportunity to talk to you and meet you. I was hoping that just to sort of kick things off with an easy softball question for some of the students here, could you talk a little bit about what is the Board of Trustees and what is your role on the board?
Okay. So part of my duty as the board, on the Board of Trustees, is to represent the public interest, to monitor the institutional performance and the educational quality here at Cerritos College. Most importantly, I'm also here to advocate and to protect the district. With that being said, that is actually one of the reasons that I decided to pursue the appointment, because I felt that those are things that align with my own personal mission as it relates to education. But going back to the first part of the question, the Board of Trustees is the governing body to really promote the success of the college.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Trustee Green. And so what we'll do too is we'll sort of rotate in terms of how we ask questions. And so that was a question that came from faculty. We'll move now to students. They have the next question.
Do you want me to go first, Jorge? Sure. Okay. So what are some of the things that you'll be able to do to support the students here at Cerritos College?
Okay, so supporting students is one of my whys. I am very dedicated to students and to their success. And so part of being able to support students is to know what the students need. So one of my goals is to really be able to speak with the students, to listen to them, to support them, to be visible and, hear their voice and be aware of what needs exist for them so that I can ensure that they're receiving the high quality educational experience here at Cerritos College, as it pertains to their experience in the classroom, as it pertains to the supports and resources that we have available here for them. Our goal is not just to have an increase in enrollment. Our goal is also to make sure that our students love being here while they're here and that we sustain their enrollment as well as produce graduates that are going to go out into the community and shine. So I feel that I will definitely start off with listening, knowing what the needs of our students are.
Excellent. Thank you, Trustee Green. At this time, I'm going to turn over the stage to Deanna. She has the next question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Natalie, and thank you, Trustee Dean. One of mine is I was wondering if you could share with us, how have you built healthy relationships that have helped you get into the position you're in now?
You know what? I would say that I have been very fortunate to build healthy relationships in my experience as an educator. I feel that one of the reasons why I have been successful at that is because I offer my genuine love, my genuine passion, and my genuine dedication to see students succeed. So that was pretty much the premise of, why I got into education in the first place. And so with that being said, I feel that I have a servant leadership style in which I like to involve others as much as possible in what I do. I want to make sure that I have an open door policy in which, like I mentioned just before this question, where I'm listening to them, I am visible, I'm reasonable, and I am there as a person, working alongside others for the win. Okay, because we want those wins in life. We want those wins for our students. We want those wins for Cerritos College. So I think I have been very fortunate to have the support of great individuals because of that. And so I look forward to building those same healthy relationships with my peers here at Cerritos College.
Excellent. Thank you, Trustee.
Perfect. Well, Trustee Green, I have the next question. And I'd like to offer some context first. So we know that the pandemic brought forth many challenges, particularly for faculty, certainly for all on campus, but in this case, I'm speaking from a faculty perspective. So for example, it forced teaching modalities that we had not been practicing in a widespread manner, particularly here at Cerritos College prior to the pandemic. And we are still facing challenges in the classroom in terms of really integrating and really being, as efficient as possible or effective as possible in the classroom or in these different modalities. And so the question is how do you imagine supporting faculty in the classroom in the post-pandemic era?
That's a great question, because what we do know is that, COVID and the pandemic really shook the world of education as we knew it. And so we were forced to make prompt changes in the way that, we accessed, or our students had access to education, the way we provided education to our students. And so one of those biggest shifts was, of course, the technology. And that also shed light to the digital gap that exists, especially within our community and within, the varying levels of skills that some, staff might have had at that time in regards to technology. So I feel that post-pandemic, we definitely have to be flexible in the environments of learning. So, there are people who thrived and did very well, with the virtual component of learning. There are others that still need that in-class support. So making sure that we have both of those options available for our students and staff so that we can meet those needs. Making sure that we have proper professional development for our staff in regards to apps, in regards to instructional technologies that they can use to promote their lessons and their instruction in the classroom, as well as making sure our students have their needs for technology and accessing technology here on campus and off campus.
Excellent, thank you. And so we're going to return at this point to students.
Thank you. So sorry. I have first, what are some goals that you see yourself setting after? Because it's like I've been to, as a student, I get lost with all the stuff that I'm doing, but something that does keep me on track is education. And you said you're in education, you're a principal, and how do you encourage people to, you encourage people to move forward, but what's something that you really want to push like long term?
Okay. So I would say, being in education, data matters. And so one of the goals that I have set is, I'm coming in to great work that has been done. And so I want to continue on and help with the great work that's being done and propel that, right? And so, I would love to see our data just increase, our data for student success increase, our data as it pertains to closing the equity gap, closing the achievement gap, looking at how we approach things through the lens of equity, access, and justice for our scholars and for our, faculty. I just want to see that shift. I want to be a part of that movement. And so I have a short term, I have 2 years. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, or I feel that there's a lot of work for me to be part of in those 2 years, but I'm ready for it. And, I would like to say that I'm kind of slow to start, but even in my approach to any position that I have taken on is you have to survey. You have to survey where you are. You have to get a feel of the culture. You have to get a feel of the climate so that I know how to best insert myself and I know how best to represent for those who I am working for, right? And I'm working for the students. I'm working for the staff. I'm working for the faculty. I'm working for Cerritos College. I'm working for those wins, right? And to see that data increase and some of that data decrease, the things that we want to, eliminate, I'm ready to see that eliminated. And those things we want to see rise, I'm ready to see them rise.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the work you're doing. There is something that I've seen, like a lot of students have been talking about. I'm gonna give you some context. I'll pass the question on to Samuel. There's a lot of students are doing their work, they're doing the essays, right? But something that is really important is their connection and Wi-Fi. That's a major problem that has been happening. A lot of students are buying hotspots. They're using some of the resources from the library, but some students who don't know about the resources from the library buy their hotspot. But I'm gonna let Samuel continue and ask the question.
Okay.
Sure. So, even with like the Cerritos College Wi-Fi, that's not the greatest. But even if you have like a hotspot, like Jorge was saying, or even if you use like a mobile connection, I guess like the Wi-Fi even with the bars is not very good because sometimes you might get 2 or 3 bars depending on where you're at. So, how do you think the Board of Trustees or whatever role you fill, how are you able to fix that or maybe like build upon that, I guess?
Right. So I know in conversations that I have been a part of since coming into the role have consisted of making sure basic needs are met for our students, right? And included in that conversation has been technology. And so that is something that, is pivotal. It's a great need, especially post-pandemic. What we were just speaking of, we have students who are taking classes from home. We have faculty that is teaching from home or remote places, locations. So we need to make sure that, the technology that we are having our students and staff access is reliable. So looking at, the services that we have and seeing what routes we can take to enhance it and better it for everyone. So that is something definitely that I would love to engage in conversation with my peers on the board in regards to making sure we do that. Or, we're looking at it, and we're working towards that for Cerritos.
Great. And yeah, speaking about these, how they're amazing resources at Cerritos, a lot of students they're being told to ask questions to be involved. But as as an incoming freshman, I know the struggles of not knowing what to ask, and students can't ask the questions that they don't know. And
Mhm.
I feel that student outreach is something that we really need to focus on. There's these amazing events. I am part of the student programming board. We were able to have a great event, and people were able to attend because of Instagram. But I feel that there's not a lot of places. There's too many places and not a specific place where students can just go and see all the information, all the amazing resources. And I feel like that's something that should be addressed.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, sir. I truly do. Because one of the things that we know is that students need to have a sense of belonging. They need to have some type of connection, not just to the campus, but to others on campus. So making sure that we have spaces where our students can go to where they're able to get the information that they need, right? And how are we making it easy for them to access that information? But as you were saying, one of the things that I feel will definitely help increase, student connectedness as well as student involvement, student engagement would be to have a location where, everyone, or not everyone, but students can go to see, oh my goodness, they have this club here. This is something I'm interested in. Oh, here's the information. Let me check it out. Because when you're a part of a group where you feel, loved, you feel accepted, you feel supported, guess what? You're going to thrive. You're going to do well, right? And we want more of that. So I definitely feel that your idea there is great. It's on target, and it will definitely help with that student engagement component.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Speaking of student engagement, a lot of students are I'm lucky that ACC is something that I'm involved with. A lot of all the associated students of Cerritos College are very involved. And I feel that that would be a great place for you to visit and really get to know a lot of students, because a lot of the associated students are involved in different things. There's a senator who's who's always pushing for the athletics program. There's a senator who's always pushing for Puente. And I'm president of the Chinese club, so I'm definitely trying to support all the APITA students. And there's all these, and a lot of the senators, cabinet members, they're very involved and they're part of clubs. And I feel that you can really get a lot from them. And I suggest that you should contact or visit Senate and visit one of our meetings. That's where I was
Okay.
able to learn a lot about the Brown Act and all these stuff. I feel like it's a great place to get to know students.
To start there. Okay, thank you. I'm writing that down. Yes, thank
And
you.
yeah, to end off, I feel that we're asking you all these questions, like you do this, do that, but like to serve us. But I want to ask you, in what ways can we serve you and really support you in your role and make Cerritos strive in general? Because that's what we're here for the
Right.
students. And yeah, well, how can we help you?
You know what? I would love for students to be open, to be honest, to communicate their experience. When various surveys go out, respond to them, because it helps shed light on the student experience here at Cerritos College. One of the things, based on that, that's something then that the board and you know President Fierro, we can come together and have those conversations in regards to what will be our next steps to help support the students based on their needs.
Excellent.
And I know we're recording, but I do ask if you can just give me a second. Someone's knocking on the door, and I apologize. I was
No,
trying to give them a little finger, but
please take your time. Yeah. And we'll mention to everyone here that, again, we're really happy and thankful that you joined us. And also after this Q&A session, there'll be an opportunity for you to also ask questions. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask them during that session.
I'd also like to add, if there are any students, please don't feel shy. It's just talking. I met Dawn Green in person, and I met a few of the other trustees, and Dawn Green was very energetic. She was very warming. I felt, I didn't feel scared at all. Like, oh my God, she's a trustee. She was very caring. She was very heartwarming. She, she, she's very nice. But yeah, I definitely feel that if there are any students, definitely stick around and ask questions. It's important. It's not that hard, and yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Just wanted to add, something else. I apologize. That was IT because I was having my little issues. They were coming to help me, and I'm like, we got it. We got it. We're good. But I think that's also one of the reasons the student trustee position is so important on the Board of Trustees, because they're also that voice and that liaison between the students and the board. We can't be here as often as the student can, right? So definitely making sure that we work with our student trustee to ensure that we have that representation of student voice.
Excellent. Thank you, Trustee Green. At this time, I want to ask just very quickly, can we get a show of hands of all participants here who are students? So if you're a student, can you raise a hand? Okay, excellent. Or show a thumb or something. Okay, this is good. Awesome. Okay, this is great. Excellent. At this, and if you're welcome to put your hands down at this point. How many people here are staff? So staff members, excellent. Awesome, thank you. Okay, how many people are faculty? Excellent. And how many administrators? Excellent. Okay, we have two. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, and I also wanted to mention that we do have a theme to the kinds of questions that we're asking this evening. Certainly, some of the themes include the role and responsibilities of a Board of Trustee member, also diversity, equity, and inclusion, student, staff, and faculty challenges and concerns, and also questions that Trustee Green may have for the interviewers. So we'll do that also toward the end. So at this point, I'd like to turn over, or the person who has the next question is Deanna.
Hello, everyone. I'm back again. And I too want to give a little background to Trustee. Trustee, I've been a student here at Cerritos for quite some time. I'm an older person coming back for the first time to get my degree. I was raised in foster care and put off my education to work so that I didn't have to be on the street. And that's kind of my story. But I was encouraged to come back. One of the things that got to me is, and the question I want to kind of give you a little background. I had attended school and I had some really close colleagues of mine. One in particular that was in it's hard for me to talk about, my mental health class, who passed away. And I began to run into a lot of students who had lost colleagues, family members through COVID. And some of the things that got to me and what I wanted to ask, because of COVID, the political things going on, I'm concerned because it's like, as a staff member and a student as well, it doesn't seem that we talk about it. And to me, it seems that a lot of things that we've done in the past were never to talk about things. And I see us rising up. As an older woman, I see from 50 years ago what life used to be like. And I'm excited to be in the here and now and see things happening. And but I do still notice a lot of behaviors and a lot. I've been blessed, honestly blessed, to have, and actually one of the persons who was very instrumental is my professor who's on this Zoom, and I'm calling you out, Professor Sarton. She made a difference in my life because of the fact that she was safe. I remember going into classes and I was always shocked because I never heard anybody speak. I've walked out of a couple classes because of some of the things that were said. And I've had members of the class walk out and say, hey, what's going on? You know, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. So what my question would be is, why aren't we talking about, we've come through a tremendous, huge thing going on in our life. Why aren't we talking about it? And in the leadership roles, I feel like, with the exception of some, I have, like, again, I said, professors that have, I thank God for them, because I wouldn't be here in the place that I'm at without them. But the environment that they created, they spent the time. And I've never been in a class where we would sit outside early, Trustee, talking, and people be talking to this old lady. We'd open up and go, man, the book that she had by Octavia about, you know, oh my gosh, we're going through this. And we couldn't wait. We wanted to be in her class because she challenged us, because we felt safe. And we talked and she listened to everybody. It was just a cool environment. But I guess my question is, how can we encourage people to demonstrate behaviors that, I believe that in this college, there's a lot of kids and students, not kids, you're not kids, forgive me for saying that, a lot of students that aren't gonna, I'm a semester away, but I can't seem to get back in the groove to get it done. And I've kind of lost that. Where are the mentors? Where are the leadership to go after them and say, come on, man, you got a semester, you know, why, how could we help you or whatever? So my two-part question is, how can we encourage people to demonstrate behaviors that are nurturing and lifting up, and to be better versions of ourselves? Like, I look at you, Trustee, and I hear, and I'm like, wow, you know, that's exciting, all the things that you've done and you're doing. But I still, even as a mature woman, need leadership. I don't need a boss. So how do we encourage people to be better and to rise up?
Well, I honestly feel that you answered part of that question, you know, already, as it pertains to your experience. You shared that you felt safe. You shared that there was a sense of connectedness. You were heard. You were seen. You were valued. You were able to contribute and not just be a person occupying a seat. You were contributing to what was going on inside the classroom. That right there is a way that, you know, we can ensure that we are encouraging people to demonstrate and be the best version of themselves, especially as students, but not even just as students, as employees in the workplace. Those same things are needed, right? I feel that what COVID has taught us is that life is so sweet, life is fragile, life is a journey. And with that being said, we really truly have to live each day to the fullest. And we have to have those wonderful, meaningful opportunities to engage with others, and engaging with others, collaborating with others, getting that help you just mentioned along the way. Those are the things that will truly help us reach our goals and our highest level, you know, our potential, right? Our optimal potential. So I would love for that to be basically common, you know, the common approach. in the work that is being done here at, Cerritos College. So I hope that I kind of answered your question, but definitely collaboration and support goes a long way. And when you have those things and you have that person tapping you on your shoulder, like, hey, come on, you can do it, giving you that encouragement and that guidance, it makes it a little, it holds you accountable, right? And I feel it definitely decreases any chances for lack of success.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Trustee Green, and thank you, Deanna, as well. I appreciate all that you said. Just a little background. I met Deanna in spring of 2020, and I was teaching a freshman composition course. She was enrolled in that course, and we were reading a novel about a pandemic. And we were just really engaged in it. This was before our pandemic. We really engaged in this novel and sort of questioning things like, why weren't they prepared for this thing? And why aren't they facing the reality of it? And then the pandemic happened to us. And so it was a really unique space, but I'd say too, that you contributed, made it exact. You are equally responsible for making it what it was. You did it. It just was a great space. I agree. And it was a great class. And it was unfortunate that it ended in terms of it being in person because we had to move online. But anyhow, you and I'm happy that we're still in touch with one another. So, okay, the next question is going to go, we're going to return to a faculty, to Will, and then I'll come back to Deanna. And then following that, we'll return to students for a question. So Will, you have the next question.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, I went out and tried to engage my fellow faculty members to see what sort of questions they had. And one question came from the union president, Lynn Wang, and she wants to ask, as a trustee, how would you assist faculty with closing the equity gap on this campus?
Okay. So as a trustee, in closing the equity gap, definitely requires data. So analyzing data, looking at, what exists, what we have to tackle, what we have to, the work that needs to be done. So really, drafting an action plan. And so definitely understanding what those gaps are, understanding how we can work to eliminate them. And assisting faculty is more so also hearing from faculty, I believe. And so definitely working with Dr. Fierro to identify those gaps that exist for the staff and faculty here at Cerritos College. So then that way it can be a conversation that we have as a board in regards to what are we going to do about this? Because, equity is part of our mission statement, right? So what are we going to do to align our work with our words? And so, I feel that would be the best way for us to assist the faculty with closing the equity gaps that exist.
Thank you, Trustee Green. We're returning to Deanna.
Okay, I'm back again. So in talking to some of my colleagues in the staff, the hourly staff, some of the things that I heard that they would love is to have leadership meetings for staff that develops them in equity and how to assure that we're doing that. So they're looking that they feel that there should be leadership trainings with a board of people, a panel of people from every culture that can represent and, better educate us on leadership roles.
I mean, that sounds like music to my ears. So, part of the work that we do as educators requires us to continue to grow as professional educators, right? So that is vital to our success as educators, and definitely vital to your success as a faculty member. So I feel that, the board would love to hear, that more, PD is wanted in the area of equity. And I know we have a great equity team that's working on that, to provide those opportunities of learning for our faculty and staff here at Cerritos. So I think that that ball is already in motion, and I can't wait to see it unfold for you and your peers. Um, Again, that's definitely something that I would love to engage in conversation with Dr. Fierro and the rest of the board. And it's great to know that we have faculty who are open to this training and to this development, because we have a lot of work that needs to be done. We have a lot of gaps that need to be closed, and so we have to work together in order for it to truly happen.
And thank you again for that, Dr. Green. I think the excitement is that they're seeing changes, our staff are, and there's a lot of good leadership. We want to be learning and educated under the leadership to be better,
Yeah.
So rise up, So,
Yeah, I like that. Yes, rise up. Yes.
But thank you. Thank you for hearing me.
Excellent. So the students have the next question, Samuel and Jorge.
Sure. Okay. So one of our themes is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and part of that is holding people to everybody equally accountable. So being a board of trustee member, how will you be able to do that? How will you be able to hold people accountable equally and fairly?
That is a great question. And so one of the things, I had spoken about is, the equity, the diversity, the inclusion, all being part of our mission and our core values here at Cerritos. So as far as, I'm so sorry, I lost my train of thought. But as far as, improving those things, I feel that, like I said, the ball is already in motion, and we want our students to succeed. We want our school to truly embody, equity, diversity, inclusion. And, there are current plans in place. So I know that, the campus has been in conversations. We want to include everyone in those conversations as it relates to the diversity, equity, inclusion plan. So those are just some of the things that I know are going to continue to grow and to make, those needed changes here at our college. And I hope I answered that well. But if I didn't, please reiterate that question for me.
I think it was good.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so I have the next question, and we offered your introduction or your bio at the start of this event, and so as the first African American woman to serve on the Board of Trustees at Cerritos College, and again in Cerritos College, again being founded or created in 1955, you're the first woman, African American woman, to serve on the board. So what specific knowledge and experiences can you share that you may bring that are particular to you in terms of your, life experiences, history, culture, that is important to the work that board members do, and also that might be used to address some of the challenges here at Cerritos College specifically? And this is again, not that I guess I just want to say as a disclaimer that all these diversity questions, not that want to address these diversity questions to you, but specifically those challenges with diversity and also in addressing anti-racism, those things. And I will just say this, I think post George Floyd, right, that uncovered, again, these inequities when it comes to racism, sexism, all these things that happen in society, right? We imagine that they're also happening on college campuses as well. And so we have that as well. Some of that is institutionalized. And so once again, how might your particular set of life experiences, skills, and knowledge address those things.
Okay. You know, as an educator, I have been dedicated to, all students. But as a Black woman, I do, want to see my young Black scholars succeed as well. And so when we look at the data, you can't deny, you see that there are disparities there, right? And so what we have to do is we really have to be intentional. We are going to have some hard conversations. We're going to have to, come to some realizations that there are systemic structures in place that have perpetuated the gaps that exist for, our African American students in particular. And so uncovering and unveiling some of those things is going to be, difficult, but it has to be done, right? And so, even looking at the data, African American population, I believe, is at about 5%. But how can we increase that? We are surrounded by a community that, does have, African American students. And how can we get them here? How can we keep them here? How can we make them feel supported while they're here? How can we make sure that they are, matriculating through the system and that they, get their degree in a timely manner from Cerritos? So those are definitely some things that I want to look at the data, change the data, have those, difficult and tough conversations, but they have to be had. And if we look at it as a whole, in regards to just what's going on outside of our campus in regards to race relations, we know that there is definitely work to be done. I feel that, a lot of things had been masked, but now that mask is off. So it's just there and we see it and we have to change it. We have to address it. We have to change it. I think that's the way that I can answer that question at this time. But please know that, I am looking. And so when we get the data, okay, let's disaggregate this data. What does it look like, for our African American students? What does it look like, for our dreamers? What does it look like, and for our English learners? What does it look like for our Hispanic, Latino students? So, we just have to be intentional in the work we do. We have to truly look at data and we have to truly have those conversations to ignite the change that's needed. And we have to have people on board to support the cause.
Thank you, Trustee Green. At this point, Deanna has the next question. And we'll take a few more questions and then we'll move to the next section. Yeah.
And Natalie, I'm lost on my next question.
Okay, no worries. Would you like a moment? Would you like me to go to students and then maybe return?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will turn this to our students, both Jorge and Samuel.
Sure. So I guess the last question I would have would be, how would you be fighting for student interest? If any students were watching or listening to this after, what would you tell them? That might be loaded, but.
No. So again,
can I interrupt real quick?
Uh-huh.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I can add a bit more to the question to help you a bit. Like right now, you're a trustee, you're a principal, it's a lot of it's a lot of work. And what has like really helped you like strive and thrive through all that work? And what is something that you could tell yourself as like envisioning yourself in the students, that's something that you could tell them that has really helped you overcome any obstacles and like encourage them and like a word of wisdom?
Okay. So I want to say that, just as, I am a principal and just as, I am now a new trustee, we have so many students who have the same task of balancing loads. right? We have students who are, who work, who are maybe sole providers for their families. We have students who are parents. We have students who have circumstances that aren't necessarily ideal or would necessarily be um, equivalent to, a path of success for them. But they balance, right? We have to find that balance. And so I feel that when you set a goal, no matter what hardships persist along the way, you have to stay true to that goal. And look, while I'm saying that, I'm talking to myself because I just had a conversation about me not finishing my doctoral degree. And it's like, I have to stick in there. I have to keep, keep going. As we mentioned earlier, having a mentor, having a safe space, having that support goes a long way because I have been able to have conversations with people who are tapping me on my shoulder. Hey, don't forget to do this. Hey, you know, don't you still want to be Dr. Green? Like just people who are encouraging me along the way. So I would say that to students who have a lot on their plates, to adults and admin and faculty and staff who all have a lot on their plate. We all have a destination, we all have a goal, and I feel that we should always just strive towards that. But while we're striving towards that, make sure you have a great support system to kind of help get you there, because there are definitely times where you're going to be like, oh, I'm tired, oh, I don't think I can do this. But when you have that wise counsel, when you have those people in your corner, it just again propels you forward. And so it's like, they're pushing you forward even when you're weak. They're pushing you forward even when you're ready to give up. They're pushing you forward even when you have the strength to go. So I guess that would be my advice. Something that I use for myself, my support system, something that all of us can use even in life, is that support system no matter where you are, right? And then just to believe in yourself. I will be completely honest with you. There are times where I have what they call like imposter syndrome. Like I question my own abilities. I question, like, am I even ready for this role? Like, can I do this? I don't know if I'm going to be any good. Sometimes those questions come up, and we have to kind of like stop, do a little self check. Like, no, I got this. I got this. But I also have people that are going to encourage me, that are going to support me, that are going to help to keep me going. And so I feel like with that in place, and with, of course, education being my passion and being my goal, I feel that, I am definitely ready to handle both roles successfully.
Thank you. This is really, I'm taking this in personally, to be honest. This is definitely helping me right now in as a student leader, as a president of the Chinese club. I'm
Yeah,
really
you have a
taking
lot
all
on your
this in.
plate, sir. You have a lot. And look, when I was in college, I was on College of Education representative. I was, the president of the African, we call it the African Student Union. So, I was involved. I was in lots of student organizations, and you have to be careful with that because, you want to do so much. And I think, you kind of have that servant leadership trait too. Right? You're going to be a great leader because you want to help others and you're there for others, but you also have to make sure you take time for yourself. Don't lose yourself.
Thank you.
Don't step away, from your goals. Like keep that in mind. Like, yes, I want to help. I want to be a part of this, but your goal is to get out of here and continue on too, right? So don't be too distracted.
Yes, ma'am.
Continue to do the good work,
And
but continue to rise.
and thank you. And I do also definitely want to let you know that we are supporting you too as a whole, students, faculty, administrators, everyone in between. We're definitely here for you, and it's all to make Cerritos a better place for everyone.
Thank you. Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, I was gonna say, I guess
Go
the
right
last
ahead.
question I would have would be, like I said before, like how would you go to bat with students? Because again, you're a principal, you're a teacher too. How would you be able to do that?
Okay, so go to bat, like, advocate for their needs. Okay, yeah. So to be honest, that's kind of like part of my why. That's pretty much why some people aren't sure of what they want to do, especially when they're like in high school. But part of my senior action plan was I want to I want to go into education to make a difference in the lives of children, and so that has pretty much been my driving force. And it is, still my driving force. But now, it's just not children, it's for all, no matter what age you are, it's the pursuit of education and high quality education at that, and moving on to be productive, lifelong learners, to be honest. So, I just feel like, this platform that I'm on now, though, gives me an elevated or heightened opportunity to truly advocate for students. Just a little information, I wanted to become a teacher to make a difference. And I was in the classroom, and yes, I made a difference, but there I realized, there's only so much I can do. So then I made the move to admin. I want to make a difference because I kind of want to take it to another level. As an admin, I realize, wow, there's still so much above me, and there's still so much that I cannot do. And so, when you have a seat at a governing board, you're really part of that decision making to really propel students and your institution forward. And so I am very pleased and honored to be able to have this position and to serve, and advocate for Cerritos College, for the students, and for the faculty, for the staff, under the direction of Dr. Firo, or over the direction of Dr. Firo, rather.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Trustee Green, for your response. And at this time, we just have two last questions, but I want to check with Deanna. I got a little note in the chat, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity if there's a last question from staff.
I guess it's not a question, a comment I'd like to make if I could, is that I, as an older woman, love being at Cerritos College, and I love being able to be in an environment where I can learn. And I've grown, I believe, from a young girl into the point where I am, to be around strong women that can guide me in better ways of thinking, better ways of speaking, so that I can become, because if I said I'm there, I'm not. That would not be the truth. I'm learning as I'm exposed, and I'm in a safe environment where I can talk and understand and hear the struggles and everything, so that I can grow to be a better person. So I guess that's my comment, is being invited to Zoom such as this is important for everybody, that we have. I was really impressed with the last meeting that I was in with Samuel, who took on a big role. And I think Mr. Will, yourself was there, and Natalie, I was invited to learn about voting. I'm 62 years old. You're not supposed to say your age, but I was so impressed in the environment that they set, and to see young people popping up these questions in the chat. And I'm like, proud of them, because it didn't get out of hand. It was very, nobody was trying to persuade anybody to think anyway. We were just talking about facts and understanding, and that's where we grow. That's where we rise up, is having people that are willing, such as yourself, Trustee, that would come and expose yourself to let us learn from you. And so that's my comment. It's been well worth the time invested to be here, just to hear, you speak, and to hear my colleagues and the other students. It's really exhilarating, and it just reminds me we're rising up. we're not staying down, we're coming up, and I'm excited for the future. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your story, because you are a testimony. You're a testament to how you start and how you rise, and they can see your example that you have set as a lifelong learner. You made mention you were just in a different space where you're able to learn at the wonderful age you're at right now. And so that speaks volumes, because, that honestly, I feel also is a goal of education, is for everyone to become lifelong learners. Don't stop, keep it going, right? And now you're able to contribute to others and share that knowledge with others. So, it just keeps going and going and going, kind of like the Energizer battery.
Excellent. Thank you, Trustee Green. Our last question comes from Will.
Wonderful. Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking about your imposter syndrome. It's great to hear that leaders in our community are still feeling that. I feel that all the time myself, and I think it's good for the students to hear that that we have our sort of insecurities and anxieties just like they do.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop at a certain age. It still happens.
Yeah, no, and finishing the dissertation does not make it go away. So
no.
Okay, so my last question comes from a lot of different faculty members that I spoke to. And just to sort of summarize all of those questions together, we had a very contentious bargaining situation with the most recent contract. And I imagine your board of trustee meetings that you've been to so far have been very amiable, but a few months ago, you would have had a lot of loud faculty and staff members, disruptive. Yeah. And I guess the question is, what's your approach to collective bargaining, and how can we make sure that it doesn't get contentious again, that we can be a little bit more friendly with one another?
Yes. So I do have experience, with negotiations and bargaining, and I've seen a somewhat sweet side and then the other side, right? When you're at the table. But I feel that overall, this is a process that is done pretty much aimed at problem solving. And so my approach to it is, okay, let's problem solve together. Let's look at the data. Let's look at, all the information we have and make the best decision that is favorable to, the college, that is favorable to the district, that is favorable to, everyone who falls under the umbrella of what we are negotiating at that time. And so, as far as it pertains to me being part of negotiations on this level, it's going to be something new. But as I said, I definitely want to hear. I definitely want to listen. And I definitely want to be knowledgeable, so that any decision that's made, I feel that I'm making it from a point of having the best knowledge and the most accurate data possible, so that we can effectively solve, what's being brought to the table. And I that might be a very, very broad answer at this time, but that is, how I'm looking at it right now before going to the table.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Can I just add? Yeah, I feel that your energy is very you're very energetic and very warming, and I feel that you're in a great example. I've seen that you listen, you hear, you listen, and I feel that you're a great example for others. And yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And so are you.
Awesome. Thank you both. And So Trustee Green and others, we have concluded the questions that we have for you. And so at this point, we want to give you an opportunity if you have any questions for any of the panelists. And then following your questions, we'll open this up to everyone here. And if anyone here has questions, they can ask those questions. So
my question would be, as a Board of Trustee member, how can I support you? And so I know we don't have a lot of time tonight, but I do want you to be able to connect with me. And so if you go to the Cerritos College website, my email address is there as well as a telephone number. And so, I would love to, have that information, or if you would like to just, engage, I'm definitely willing to do that, and I'm wanting to do that so that I can get to know more perspectives as it relates to the work that I will be doing here with Cerritos College.
excellent. Thank you very much. And I feel that that's been echoed throughout your responses this evening in terms of that you're here, you're wanting to hear what everyone here has to say. You're wanting to listen, you're wanting to again, engage in that fashion. So thank you again for reaffirming that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. And okay, so I kind of understand, did you want us to maybe talk to that, or was that more of a statement just to everyone?
It was a statement to everyone, but I am willing to listen now. I have my notepad. I'm ready.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying. Does anyone on the panel have any thoughts they want to express now?
Natalie, I wanted to acknowledge Ruben's comment in the chat. I thought it was really cool because it talks to what we're talking about. In order to change, you have to have trust with the people. And so Ruben's comment was really cool. Thank you, Ruben.
Yeah, no problem. I actually wanted to say, Don Green, I think I saw you for the first time when we had a meeting there with Hector Ledesma. And I think we met you for the soccer, when we were greeting the soccer team for Cerritos being the #1 in the state, and to introduce you, it was a pleasure meeting you. But yeah, basically my comment was, I can put my trust in your hands, and I feel confident with you, our newest Falcon, you will help us soar even higher.
Thank you. That is my goal, Ruben. That's my goal. But it's not just my goal. I truly feel that that is everyone's goal, and especially, like I said, my peers on the board. So I'm very excited to work with them. And Dr.
Definitely. And then, like as Jorge said, I can feel this energy, this different. You just bring a different type of energy to the table that a lot of people can resonate with, and I can feel that vibration that you're just here to just help us manifest a better variation of ourselves in the future. And at the end of the day, like you said, the support system is defined not just by you but by the students around you who are willing to reach out and extend their hand, not only yours. And I believe that I'm willing to extend my hand to you because I feel, not even just feel, I can see like in your eyes this glimmer of hope that, you know what, I can keep going even further if she can. And those are the type of Falcons we need in our flock. Just keep going higher and higher, because no matter what, the only people that can stop us is us. But the more Falcons we get, the more stronger we are. And I'm just proud to be a Falcon, and having you guide us and help us even further is just a blessing in disguise. And I appreciate you for everything that you've been able to do for us. And I'm glad that you're part of the team, Don. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you so much. I appreciate those kind words.
No problem. Thank you again.
Excellent. So at this point, unless there's a panelist or an interviewer who wants to possibly respond to that question. Okay, excellent. Samuel, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick to kind of respond to what Trustee Green was asking. I would say the best thing to do would be going to the events, like going to AACC, going to some of the sports games. They're awesome. I cover a lot of them, but it's great. Going to all these events, talking to students, talking to faculty, everything. I could trust that you will be able to do that. But that would be the best indicator of knowing like what faculty, students, all that sort of stuff would want. That'd be the easiest way to do it.
And I also wanted to add make sure to go to ACC and I think talk to Dean Miller. We'll get you on the agenda, and I feel that that'll be a great first place to start.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. At ASCC, we do appreciate a lot of people just coming in to help advocate for us, because not only does it show that you come care for just the students, because it's a small collective of individuals that want to not just better ourselves, but better all of Cerritos in general and for the future generations. Like how Samuel said, if you were to just be present and just show that energy that you're presenting to us, everyone will receive you the same way we have here. And like he said, we're confident and we believe in you that you'll manifest that for us. And whenever you need to, like, there we have clubs too. I'm the president of Geography Club, and I think
Congratulations.
I think George is the president of Chinese Club, and we're still part of the ASCC too, the cabinet. So whenever you need us too, we're willing to talk to you. And just like how you said, don't be scared of asking questions. The same for you, because we're willing to respond with honesty and truth.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that.
Well, that was Ruben. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Ruben. I apologize.
No problem. No problem.
Excellent. And I will say to Trustee Green, we certainly, on behalf of faculty, we invite you to those spaces in which we occupy, one being the Faculty Senate. And so there's a second senator here, Nicholas Matthews. He teaches in communication studies, but certainly we invite you to our meetings as well. And again, I something again that I've just heard you say over and over very sincerely is just that you're open to listening and hearing those concerns, and also that you want those solutions to be data informed. And so, which I think is a good thing as well. So thank you again.
Thank you. No, and thank you, everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to get to know you, to get to express, the work that I'm planning to do. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and so I'm so thankful for the invite and again this opportunity. So thank you, everyone, all the interviewers, all the guests, all those who have contributed in the chat. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well, we have, there's a few more questions from the audience.
Okay.
There's a few members that want to ask you a couple questions. So I just want to open it up broadly, but one person in particular, but I think she's not here anymore. Is Henrietta Hurtado still here? Okay, I can, she had a question and she shared it with us, and Henrietta is the EOP, she's an EOPS counselor. She's also chair of Chicano Studies here at Cerritos College. And her question is, Cerritos College is a Hispanic serving institution. Do you think Cerritos College could ever grant us Cesar Chavez's birthday as an additional district holiday? And I want to add the importance and relevance of this in terms of, in the state of California, Cesar Chavez Day is recognized as a holiday. And so also just his importance to California alone, the contributions that he made that we all benefit from in terms of just employee rights and things like that. So
yeah, the movement, yes. So I definitely did not know that that was not a recognized day here at Cerritos College, because my experience in education has, shifted to where we do celebrate that day, and we do make sure that, our scholars are aware of the contributions that, he made, and why we still benefit from them to this day, right? They're long living and long lasting. So that is definitely something I feel that Dr. Fierro and the board, should have conversations around. He's definitely a figure that we need to honor.
excellent. Thank you for that.
I just think of, our community as well. And, and the, the population of our student body. I just, I'm sorry, I am a little shocked at that.
No, thank you very much for your response. And just, you know, your response to everyone here, but I'll certainly share that with Henrietta specifically as well. So again, I'd just like to open the discussion up to anyone who may have questions. And then also yes, if you could introduce yourself by your first and last name, or at least first name, and also your either role on campus or your major if you're a student. I think Cynthia had her hand up. No? Okay. So.
Okay. My name is Cynthia Gutierrez. I'm actually a student who works for the Telemarks newspaper. I'm here reporting on this whole event. And I had 2 questions. My first question was going to go to Dawn Green. I wanted to know her future plans for these events, if we're going to see more of these events, and what she plans to do with all of this.
Okay, so yes, I was actually speaking in regards to, I would love to know if there's a calendar that kind of has like a calendar of events, but now that I am part of communication here, I do receive emails for like various events, especially like with sports, with the Performing Arts Center, but I know I might not have access to some of the events that take place like within our student-centered, you know, organizations. So please, like my email is there on the website. So if you're having something, please send me an invitation. I know I'm not going to be able to make everything, but I will definitely do my best to, you know, attend some type of event at some point. And just enjoy it.
Sorry about that. Specifically for Falcons Rising, I'm sorry. I wanted to know if there's going to be future events. What other things you want to talk about? All of that information.
Okay, so for Falcons Rising, just events that you guys are going to have?
Yeah. Yes, we. You might be on mute, Cynthia.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Sorry.
Okay, yes. So, you know, let me know. I went in the introductory email that I received from Professor Mittendorf. He did include some snippets of work that has been done by Falcons Rising. So I was able to do a little research on you guys and go to some of those links. But yes, I would love to engage in any kind of conversations that you guys are going to have. Any events, please just keep me posted.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Cynthia, thank you for that question. We'll share, in fact, Dr. Mittendorf just did now shared the link for Falcons Rising in the chat. We have, this is our second, let's see, we started in fall of 2020. Will shared at the start, this was in response to George Floyd, the killing of George Floyd. We wanted to have those conversations about racism, about these inequities in society on our campus, specifically as they relate to African-American students. So we've had a number of discussions and forums, some on policing on our campus, some on the color of COVID. One was titled that, how does the inequities when it comes to COVID within our communities? Will, help me out. I can't, in the environment, we've talked about injustice in the environment. Environmental injustice. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a link there in the chat.
And I think it's great. I just want to insert, I think it's great work that you're doing. And so even in that initial email, I was like, oh, I love that you have this organization available for our students to have that voice, to, you know, make that call to action in response to the events that are going on around us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Yeah. Okay.
Natalie, Nicholas Matthew has his hand up.
Excellent. Nicholas, you have the next question. Thank you, Deanna.
Hi. So my name is Nick Matthews, and I'm a Natalie, referenced me earlier, but I'm a communication studies faculty member and a faculty senator, and I direct the speech and debate team here on campus. And I just want to, first of all, thank you for coming tonight and, you know, talking with all of us and sharing all of your wonderful perspectives and insights, and also to congratulate you on being appointed a trustee. Again, I think it's you know, you're going to make an incredible contribution to the college, and we really appreciate your stepping up and applying for the position. And when you were appointed, I saw in your bio that, you know, you're doing your dissertation at USC and getting your EDD, and I think that's super cool. I mean, I finished my EDD last year at Cal State Long Beach, and it's a very social justice oriented program like USC's is. And I think that, you know, the type of work that we do in those programs is really important and really meaningful. And so I'm just wondering if you'd be willing to share, just tell us about your dissertation. Like what's the topic, and how do you think your dissertation will inform the work that you do as a trustee, and vice versa, how being a trustee will help inform your dissertation?
Okay, so my dissertation is on universal design for learning, and I was captured by that because we know that equity, you know, we know that gaps exist, and we know that in a classroom there are varying levels of our students in regards to their levels of performance. And so if you're a teacher in a classroom, how do you meet the needs? How do you make instruction accessible for all of your students in a way where they can all feel successful? And so that's what really turned me on, you know, to universal design for learning. And when we think about it, how universal access and just universal design was just, you know, in regards to, for instance, curbs having the appropriate, you know, scaping, so that if a person is in a wheelchair, they'll be able to access that, you know, without having to go all the way down and all the way around. And so, you know, we can kind of transfer that into the work that's being done into the classrooms. So how, you know, how can we make education more accessible to our students when they're in the classroom? And so that is why I decided upon universal design for learning, which is a concept that has been used more so in special education classes. But with the great diversity that exists in our classrooms today, it doesn't have to just be a special education type of thing. It needs to be an inclusive type of thing, where we're using those strategies and we're giving students multiple means of measures to you know, to show their knowledge of things within that classroom. And we're designing the instruction with them in mind from the beginning. So that's my little spill on my dissertation topic. But yeah, so universal design for learning has a special place in my heart.
That is awesome. You're speaking my language. My dissertation was on accessibility, students' perceptions of the accessibility of their instructional materials, and that has so much overlap with UDL.
Yes, I'm coming to talk to you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Come talk to me. I'm one of the distance education coordinators on campus. So myself and my colleagues, we do a lot with accessibility. We do a lot of UDL workshops. That is what we do. Like,
oh wow, look at that.
Education is like, that's where UDL happens. Like,
yes,
real.
yes. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Well, it is 7:26 p.m. and I think at this time we'll close. Although Trustee Green and also the interviewers, we'd like for you to hang on for a little while after, if you could stay on to Zoom for a few moments. But Trustee Green, we want to thank you tremendously for taking the time to answer these questions and just to share, you know, insights about yourself, about your perspective in education. And we look forward to seeing you at board meetings or just around campus, and we look forward to seeing you in all spaces.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd also like to thank VP Wei Zhao, again, our VP of Academic Affairs, for spending the evening with us as well and supporting this event. And also, I'd also like to thank Maya Walker. She is the Director of College Relations, Public Relations, and Governmental Relations here at Cerritos College. So thank you also for spending your evening with us as well. And then also I'd like to thank every student, every staff person, and every faculty member who is here as well in support of this interview with Trustee Green. So on behalf of Falcons Rising, we again thank you all for your time. And you can, again, check we try to get notices out to the campus about events, but you can certainly check our website. We always update our events there as well. But thank you again, and we wish you a good night.
Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll out a bit. Awesome. And Cynthia's going to hang out with us as well. So.
Okay.
I guess we can start. Cynthia and Samuel, are you okay if others are in the room as well?
Sure, doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect.
I just want to go ahead and ask one more question towards a student, particularly